حضور نهایت گرامی، ما در بین صحبت کنندگان دختر خانمی داریم به نام ماریا حیات. ایشان دختر قماندان صاحب مسلم حیات هستند که متاسفانه قماندان صاحب چند ماه قبل از دست دادیم و وفات نمود. دیگر خداوند بهشت برین جایش بسازه و حالا از ماریا حیات خواهش میکنم که صحبت بفرماید.
تشکر سلام به همگی. To many he was called Commandant Muslim Hayat. I'm privileged to call my father Baba John. Not only was he the best father, he was a loving and caring friend, husband, brother, and most importantly, a loyal son to our homeland, Afghanistan. At just the ripe age of 16, my father joined the demonstrations against the communist government at the time. As a result, he was thrown out of military school and sent to prison. Being caught and arrested wasn't the end of his military journey. In fact, it was only the beginning of the legacy that my father had created. The same night that my father was released from prison, he took a bus straight to Jangalak Panjshir to join Amir Saib, line of Panjshir, Ahmad Shah Massoud. Our hometown, Jangalak, the home of the lions. My father turned to his older relative, Amir Saib. Shahid Ahmad Shah Massoud, who was much older at the time, welcomed my father, who was still in his teens. They embarked on a journey that changed the history of our country. My father's resilience powered him through the wars throughout his teens and adulthood. Many times my father fainted in the mountains due to the high altitude, but he kept going for his country and people, just like he did with his illness that turned our world dark and took my father away from us. Under Amir Saib, my father became a commandant, training hundreds and thousands of our sons who are ready to give up their lives to protect their motherland from strangers, be it the Soviets or the Taliban. Growing up, I called Amir Saib Kaka Ahmad Shah Massoud. It only came naturally given that throughout my life, my father told me stories about his jihad. One story that struck me in particular was about the summer of 1985, when my father was the commander of 30 Mujahideen soldiers and he was ordered by Amir Saib to go to Salang. Amir Saib instructed my father to change the pipelines that supplied the Russian aircraft that would then bombard areas of Afghanistan. These pipelines delivered fuel from Uzbekistan and were accessed by the Russians. After my father arrived in Salang with his soldiers under Amir Saib's instructions, they were instantly bombed and attacked by the Russians day and night. The Mujahideen were under a lot of pressure, but after a few days my father succeeded with his soldiers. Amir Saib asked my father, "How did you do it?" And my father explained that in Salang, they didn't face Russian soldiers, they faced local communist soldiers under Najib's government who came to the base. My father took the soldiers as prisoners of war and replaced the petrol from the pipelines. But it didn't stop there. My father then released the prisoners and gave them travel money to return to their families and children. My father told Amir Saib that not only was it difficult to look after the prisoners, but the struggle was to fight and undermine the Russians, not the prisoners who were from the same country as us. Amir Saib was proud and they left Salang feeling successful and happy despite the heavy losses of the Mujahideen. History was made as my father's success at changing the pipelines made that the Russian aircrafts were now exploding in the air. As a result, the Mujahideen were relieved from the pressure of the Russian aircraft bombardment for a time being. This story goes to show how Amir Saib taught the Mujahideen, including my father, how to approach the prisoners of war Islamically. Amir Saib and our Mujahideen treated prisoners of war with respect and dignity. They were fed, nourished, without torture, and were released unconditionally. When I used to look at the pictures of the war with my father, I would spot a Russian blue-eyed blonde-haired soldier and ask my father, "Why is the enemy amongst you guys?" But my father would laugh and beam, telling me that many Russian soldiers who were initially prisoners chose to stay with the Mujahideen due to the warm treatment that they received under Amir Saib. Amir Saib was not only a great leader for the Mujahideen, but also an embodiment of the correct teachings of Islam, which he showed through his treatment of prisoners and women. Amir Saib said to himself, "Women can pursue an education, women can pursue a career, and women can play a role in society just like men." This was our belief and continues to be our belief. Indeed, Amir Saib set up councils during the war and was known for his strong support for the emancipation of women. And today, here I am, standing in front of you all talking about these two heroic individuals. I wouldn't have been here had it not been for my father's endless support in my education and passion for Afghanistan. He was the best support in everything and the best father I could ask for. My father and Amr Saib may have both left us, but the school of Masood will always continue, and Amr Saib's legacy will always live amongst us. Tashakkur.